Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Nikki Kinzer. Hello, Nikki.
Hello, Pete Wright. Hello, everyone. Welcome.
You're doing okay today. We've had a little bit of a tech support issue, but this is not planetary alignment. This is just today. Your week is actually good.
I've had a great week. Great week. This morning, I'm just a little off, because my husband came home last night from being gone all week, and my son is sick this morning, and so I'm letting them sleep. And so everything's just been kind of off.
Are they actually sleeping right now?
They're still sleeping, and it's 10 o'clock on Friday Pacific
Wow.
time right now.
That's amazing.
Right? Yeah.
That's
so they're tired.
Gift.
They're tired. So, the technical stuff kind of threw me, but my anxiety's a little high today. I don't know why. Well, but you've kind of, I'm worried about my dog, worried about the blue light on my microphone. I can't get the recording right, but everything's fine. I'm going to take a deep breath.
That's right.
And be with you today and talk about passwords.
That is the first thing we're talking about, and it's amazing. The second thing we're talking about is, oh my goodness, I got in a complete rat hole about a thing that, if you experience this, could be equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day if you've never touched a cigarette in your life. And that freaks me out. Talk about anxiety. So we're going to talk about that in just a little bit, and the relationship of it to ADHD. Before we do that, head over to takecontroladhd.com. You can get to know us a little bit better. You can listen to the show there on the website or subscribe to our mailing list, and you'll get an email each week with the latest episode. And yes, we've updated our terms of service.
We did, and I sent an email.
You did. You joined the Big Boys Club.
I did, because you know what? Yeah. I may be small, but someday I may be big.
You are small but mighty.
Yeah, no, it's really funny because, yes, you get these emails from all these big companies saying we did this. And really, it hasn't changed much of what I would normally do anyway. I mean, I'm very transparent. If you don't want to be on my mailing list, then, unsubscribe. It's totally fine. But yeah, I thought, you know what? Everybody else is doing it. I'm going to do it too. So I sent out an email about it.
It is really important stuff just to know. And I think that's the important thing. If anything, this sense of sort of industrial transparency is a good thing to know, not just, that we have your email address, but what we do with it, sometimes outside of our control. For example, there is a feature in our mailing software that pops your name up on a map when you open your emails from us. We don't necessarily need that. We don't really want it. It's tracking. We don't care about it, but we have to tell you that it's happening in our terms of service. And so that's really hard. That's kind of a fine line because, it's just default on all of these services, not just the one we use, but all of them. They're doing things that are sort of beyond our control. And so to be able to just sort of say it out loud, this is what we do, this is what we have, we're not going to sell, and you can delete your information at any time. Please do it anyway.
Well, don't tell them to delete their information.
No, they gotta know.
Delete. I still want you on my email list. You got to know about promotions and the week.
That's right. So don't. But you could, but don't.
I do special things for those people. But yes, if you really don't want to be, then always.
And just in the spirit of completion, the reason everybody is doing that, we do have a question in the chat room, and I'm going to address this because it's timely.
Yes.
The reason this is happening is because today, as we record this, it's May 25th, and May 25th is a big day because the general data protection regulations have gone into effect today, at midnight. You're in Europe, in the EU, that impacts anybody doing business in the EU. And these regulations define what companies are doing with your data. And that ends up being a big deal because it impacts any company doing business in the EU, even if we're not based in the EU. For example, just this morning, as soon as the regulations went into effect, Facebook and Google were saddled with $8.8 billion in lawsuits for violating GDPR immediately because the policies they put into place, these activist sort of attorneys have said they do not comply with the letter of GDPR. So GDPR is a big deal. It impacts anybody doing business in Europe. We have subscribers on our list that live in Europe. Therefore, we must comply with GDPR or we can be set on. And this is not just like sort of the US can spam law about emailing that is rarely enforced. This is serious. The actual, we can be saddled with a fine that equates to a percentage of total revenue if we violate this. All companies doing business, anybody in Europe. So all of these are because of Europe. And I think it's coming to the U.S. too. California has already taken the lead on this stuff with their state legislation. So we just have to be in compliance. And honestly, we're just being good citizens. So there you go. Yep. This is a tech episode only, sort of, but there you go. There's our first little dipping our toe into tech. Okay. The other thing that you can do, don't forget, head over to patreon.com/the ADHD podcast, and you can join our Patreon support page. We absolutely adore our patrons who, for just a couple of bucks a month, jump in, support us on our goal to actually make this as a show. We have this goal to sort of offset the production costs of this show, and every month, more and more people who have been touched by the ADHD podcast are jumping in to support us to keep going, to make this a long-running show, supporting the ADHD community. We love it. We thank you very, very much, and we look forward to your continued support. Thank you. Okay. Can we talk about passwords?
Not yet.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
I have just a quick announcement because last week I announced at the end of the show about group coaching.
You did.
And I had quite a few people actually come onto the waiting list for that. And so I just wanted to make another announcement real quick that if you are interested in summer accountability group coaching, to go to the website, and more information is there about how it's set up, how it works. This week we're going to have enrollment open here pretty quickly. If enrollment is not open when you go into the website, just put your name on the waiting list and I will get back to you with all the details.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to throw that out there because I was really pleased to see the interest come this week. And so, more the merrier. So if you're interested in that, let me know.
Outstanding.
Now we can talk about passwords.
Let's talk about passwords. So this is just an announcement because you know how much I love the 1Password. You're familiar with my love for the 1Password. So the 1Password, it's not the 1Password. It's just 1Password. And 1Password is an app. It's a password manager. It's a thing that you store your logins inside of this secure vault. So 1Password that you type in and it gives you access to all of your other passwords. There's a shortcut key on your keyboard. So when you go to a website, you can just hit the little shortcut key and it opens your vault and automatically logs you in with this very complex password. So I love 1Password. We've talked about 1Password on the show. Here's the thing. 1Password 7 for Mac was released this last week. If you're a Mac user and a 1Password user, update immediately. And here's why. They have included... part of what they include in 1Password is a service called Watchtower, and Watchtower is a service that allows you to see if your passwords are short or they're too short or they're easily guessable, their dictionary definition, that sort of a thing. And this latest update attaches haveibeenpwned.com, which is a service by a security researcher that actually tracks all of the breaches and allows you to search manually, if you want, your email address to see if your address or email address has been included in one of the myriad data breaches that are going on right now, because of our reliance on cloud data. And so these services that have been hacked, this service, haveibeenpwned.com, will actually tell you whether or not you have been violated. Now, I have a lot of I have 600 passwords in my account. So over the years, I've just got a lot of them. I have, by and large, gone through and made them all unique. All of my passwords are, 12 to 36 characters long. I don't know any of them. They are unique to one another. I don't have to memorize them or anything. They're all encrypted. They exist on my system. And anyhow, this service now lets me know right on the password login look, this password is listed in a have I been pwned breach. That means it is of the utmost importance that you change this password immediately and make it something complex, because it's been sold. Like, it's in a basket of data that is being sold right now. Like, you've been breached. Change your passwords. You don't know when people are going to, when bad actors are going to have their way with your data. And that's a huge deal. That's a really big deal. So I would definitely, at least, even if you don't get it, so 1Password, even if you don't use 1Password, go to haveibeenpwned.com and just search for your email address. We did this last night with a couple of my clients and found many of them, their business email addresses were, violated and on the open market. The address is literally have I been pwned, PWNED. So HAVEIBEEN PWNED.com, and just enter your email address and click pwned. You don't enter your password. You don't enter anything like that. It just searches against the the number of websites that have been breached. And it'll tell you exactly, you've been breached in a Dropbox attack, you've been breached in a LinkedIn attack, you've been breached any number. It's PWNED, not O. The O is gone. This is like tech, this is gamer speak. And so pwned, PWNED.com. Have I been pwned.com. Check it out. Very much worth the trouble. And we discovered, because I actually have a number of accounts working with you, Nikki, that you had been pwned.
Yeah, I was pwned, and then I corrected it.
You did it
with
fast.
1Password.
You did,
and you were very proud of me. You even said, "Nikki, this is a very proud moment."
Yes, I was proud.
Yeah.
It's super useful, and so I highly recommend something like that. If you're concerned about using a password vault, absolutely. Just there's a ton of research about on both on and off these services sites that where security researchers are looking at the actual encryption. The biggest thing to be afraid of when you're using these password vaults is that is social hacking, right? Is that somebody is going to guess your password to your vault, and that's on you. If you have 1Password and you put your 1Password to all of your other passwords on a sticky and you stick it on your monitor, that's on you. You're going to get hacked. You're going to get your password hacked, and then you lose all of the stuff in your vault, and that's not great. But if you have one good password, you can change all your other passwords and trust that it is in an encrypted system. I did my own research on this, and I feel solid. I trust the service. I trust the company. I trust the leadership of the company. I trust the engineering team. I follow them on Twitter. I feel good that they have my best interests at heart, and I stick with it. But you have to come to that term of trust. There are people who just will not trust password vaults because of that one question: what if the vault gets hacked? But the alternative, in my experience, is those people end up using the same password that's dictionary guessable for every single website that they actually log into, banks, travel sites, whatever, and that is dramatically less secure than one of these password vaults. So your mileage may vary. Please do the research, but it is best practice to definitely get on board with this stuff. Using it so far.
So what does this have to do with cigarettes?
Now you're changing topic. This was my digital contribution for the week.
Oh, that's a different topic?
Yep. That's a different topic.
Oh, I thought that was going to be something to do with passwords.
Not at all.
Sorry.
No. Are we done with passwords? Any questions about passwords? Because I'll move on.
Good.
I'll move on. Okay. Nikki, have you seen this meme going on by the time you're 35? Have you seen this?
No.
It's on social media. It's on Facebook. It's on Twitter. By age 35, you should have ... And it started from MarketWatch, CBS MarketWatch Twitter account. They posted this thing, this link that said, by 35, you should have twice your salary saved, according to retirement experts. Okay, which, say what you will about that number or that financial advice, probably makes a lot of sense. You should do that. But the internet went crazy. The internet responded, of course, and what started with snarky comments about, how far away many people were from actually having twice their salary saved in this economy, right? It went totally sideways. And so people started responding to Market Watch. By 35, you should realize that most people have no idea what they're doing and will just try to get by in the world. Or by 35, you should have had 2 existential crises at minimum. By 35, you should have at least 3 body pains that come and go with no rhyme or reason and can't be explained by a physician. Right? By 35, you should have a box full of various mystery cables you can't get rid of. That's certainly
true.
my house. By 35, you should have figured out that 35 isn't that old.
That's so true.
I like
especially when you're 45.
Right? That's the one that hit me. It's not that old, and the older I get, the younger 35 seems.
It really, yeah, I know.
So that really hit me. And that same day, I was reading this meme and getting, exactly the same level of chuckles that you might expect out of a meme like this. Rachel Royer in the chat room, they're in the Facebook group, posts, "Do you normally get a lot more lonely with ADHD?" And left it at that. And that conversation totally spun off the rails pretty quickly. There were some good comments, and then it went into, World of Warcraft's upcoming expansion pack and the number of Discord servers we're all on and Slack servers, which is all super impressive. But I kept coming back to this, like day after day. Does this question have legs? Because I've heard people talk about it, and I had never researched it myself. And I think it does. I think it does have legs. But that's based on my own experience, and my experience says that, well, my bucket list is overflowing and I have these great experiences and accomplishments and things I'm proud of. I move in and out of feelings of connection, right? And in spite of a loving family and a partner, and it's really too easy to feel disconnected from the rest of the world and from friends and colleagues and to become profoundly lonely. And so how is this connected to ADHD? Well, I don't know, but Ned Hallowell seems to agree. He has written about it in his own work, and he in fact codified it in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective ADHD Adults. And I won't go through all 7, but numbers 5 and 6 are, I think, important. Ask for and heed advice from people you trust and ignore the dream breakers and finger waggers. And number 6, make sure you keep up regular contact with a few close friends. Yeah, well, if Ned says it, we should probably listen to it. So then...
I agree.
Right? So then I stumbled on this book from Dr. Robert Brooks. And the book is called Reflections on Mortality, Insights into Meaningful Living. And I have to share this passage. So bear with me just a little bit while I read a bit. Dr. Vivek Murthy, former U.S. Surgeon General, was interviewed by Felice Freyer for an article that appeared last month in the Boston Globe. Murthy highlighted a condition that he believes is more prevalent than many people realize and represents a major health issue, including a heightened risk for cardiovascular disease and chronic illness. He noted that its effect on mortality was similar to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. What is this condition that is so injurious to our health? Loneliness. In the interview with Freyer, Murthy asserted that loneliness, quote, places the body in a chronic stress state and increases inflammation levels. Essentially, that data is telling us that loneliness kills. Murthy recently published a thought-provoking article in the Harvard Business Review examining the presence and impact of loneliness in the workplace. He defined loneliness as the subjective feeling of having inadequate social connections and noted rates of loneliness have doubled since the 1980s and affected people of all ages and socioeconomic backgrounds across the country. How does that hit you?
Makes me sad.
Yeah, that is the saddest face. I cut back to your camera and your face was so sad.
I am. I'm really sad. That makes me sad.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. And I for a couple reasons. I specifically because I work with I work with a lot of clients, and I've seen this, I've heard this before in my clients, feeling like they wish they had more social interaction, or they feel like something's missing, or they get into that state of loneliness. And I think that, like what you were saying before, I can relate to it too, especially with my anxiety. And probably are more sad about it today because my anxiety is high today right now. So yeah, it just makes me feel sad, and I don't know. I have to sit with this, I think, for a minute.
It's worth sitting with it, and it's one of those sort of catch-22 issues. But there are a couple of things that stood out to me. Number one is that because of the way loneliness sort of manifests, right? The subjective feeling of having inadequate social connections. If you feel lonely, you are lonely, right? It doesn't matter if there are people around you, if you are part of a loving family. If you feel lonely, that is your experience. That is really important because so many people, like the response is, oh gosh, you're lonely. You need to meet more people, right? You need to have more friends or join more groups or get out more. If you are in a state of profound loneliness, you're in a state of illness, right? This is a sickness, and you are not capable of exerting the will, the institutional, constitutional will to join groups and go make friends. You can't do that. You are profoundly misunderstood. That's likely where it comes from. And that gets back to my connection to ADHD. And I think, other conditions that manifest in this one potential outcome, which is ADHD is a condition in which you already feel massively misunderstood by the world.
Right.
That is an isolationist experience. That is an experience that puts you in the corner. That's the Dirty Dancing. Baby is in the corner, right?
Right.
We don't want to put Baby in the corner. Swayze didn't put Baby in the corner.
No, he did not. He threw her up in the air and caught her.
Yes, he did.
In the water.
He put Baby
and
in
then
the
on
corner.
The dance floor.
So the trick with loneliness is I think fascinating. So this is what I've been reflecting on. Loneliness, combating loneliness has to be a community effort because it's one of those things that you can't do yourself. It's very difficult, challenging to find the will to go, medicate or whatever. You can't do it, and we don't actually do well at conditioning ourselves, to get through this state. We aren't taught the skills of doing this, right? I mean, this is not something we're taught in school. There's so many interventions that we're taught in school, and we're not taught this one. So here are some other things. When your relationships cannot be dictated, but they can be influenced. And so when you are feeling strong, it is endemic on all of us to actually go out and be more aware of those who may be lonely without us. If you haven't seen a friend or colleague in a while, you should reach out and talk to them. Positive relationships, says this Dr. Murthy, positive relationships are forged and resilience is reinforced when people are engaged in activities that enrich the lives of others.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
How so?
In the sense that, when I was doing the happiness project, when I was reading the Happiness Project, that, and I don't remember if it was actually from Gretchen Rubin or if it was something I read somewhere else, but that volunteering and doing things for other people help you feel, I don't know, it sounds kind of weird, but brings joy in your life.
Yeah.
It brings happiness to your life because you're helping somebody else out. You're giving yourself to somebody else that is in need.
Yeah, right. Here's another one. High quality relationships must be grounded in love and informed by kindness, compassion, and generosity. Murthy cautioned that although these qualities are often interpreted as soft, at work in particular, in fact, studies show that positive emotions enhance performance and resilience. Nikki, we do not teach love informed by kindness, compassion, and generosity in school.
Well, no. Mm-mm.
We don't teach that. There are communities and teachers that attempt to model it, but we don't teach it. And the thing that comes out of this for me, if you're a manager, model and invite others to model how to build stronger relationships. It seems counterintuitive to assist others who are feeling lonely, to ask those people, the lonely people, to help other people feel less lonely. But you know what? That experience helps build a connection that's mutually affirming, right? That is something that helps defeat the cycle of loneliness. And you have to be more aware of that. It is our responsibility to help one another. So, I model generosity and grace and model openness and be aware of those around you who are observably lonely and reach out to them, show them what inclusive looks like, knock on doors, invite the light in, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's really, really important. And so I don't want to get stuck too much in this, in this sort of chicken or the egg discussion, but the apparently the United Kingdom or Britain specifically has a minister of loneliness now, and we'll see what happens
Interesting.
with the minister of loneliness. But this is a passage I wanted to share out of this work. The world is suffering from an epidemic of loneliness. If we cannot rebuild strong, authentic social connections, we will continue to splinter apart in the workplace and in society. Instead of coming together to take on the great challenges before us, we will retreat to our corners, angry, sick, and alone. We must take action now to build the connections that are the foundation of strong companies and strong communities, and that ensure greater health and well-being for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Amen to that.
Right. So I think that it's for me this whole concept is pretty powerful, and I've been really reflecting on it this week, and I think I think the questions that come out of a discussion about loneliness for me, what happens, how it spirals into sort of depressive cycles, and how it is in fact cyclical, and how it is in fact related directly to, for me, and speaking about ADHD, related to, my projects, and feeling misunderstood about my projects, and feeling like I'm not moving in the right direction, or that things are too slow. These are things that loneliness perpetuates itself. When you
Right.
start feeling alone, you become more and more lonely, and it's the same old saw. You need to be able to think about building the relationships when you are feeling strong, so that those people are the ones who can help you get out of it when you're feeling weak. That's my thought for the day.
I'm glad that this actually resonated with you, and you were able to be able to reflect and share with our listeners, because I think it's important. And I think in today's society, every week we are getting information on the news about another school shooting. And I have to say that, what you've hit here is something you said it's not taught in schools. And I hope that changes, because if that was taught in schools, would we see some decline in what these young people are feeling? I don't know. I don't want to have a debate on what is the cause, because we don't know. But this just hit me when you were talking about this.
Yeah, if anything, I don't necessarily need to think about those sort of specific things, but I do think that we can do a better job of relating to one another. And this gets me back to the meme by 35.
Right.
It took me decades to figure out how to look my best male friends straight in the eye and say, I love you. Right? That was so hard. It was so hard to figure that out, to look at my friends who are not my family, who are not my wife, and say, I love you. I love you for who you are in my life. I love you for what you represent when I'm lonely. I love you for being able to reach out to me when I need it and drag me out. And I love you for going to stupid movies, right? Like that is a level of vulnerability that we aren't taught, and it is incredibly frustrating. And I hope that I hope we are getting better at it. I hope we are. I'm seeing these sort of isolated bits where these experiences where teachers are getting better at it, where institutions are getting better at it, where companies are getting better at it. But I feel like we're a long way off. Thanks for putting up with my diatribe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's so many ways we could go with this, but yeah, I think we're good today.
Yeah, don't beware of the isolation that comes with ADHD. That's the connection, because it can lead to something that many people are experiencing, ADHD or not, but that is a trigger for those of us who are living with it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I've got. Thank you.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you, Pete.
Well, thank you, Nikki. Thanks for I love these Pete sessions. I like to drive these sessions. So change your passwords, everybody. Change your passwords and don't smoke.
And get connected.
But mostly passwords and smoking. You're okay.
Connect in your own like way that you need to connect. Like, we're not telling you to go join a group. Like,
No.
Although if you want to be a part of my accountability group.
Yes, or our Patreon subscribers. We sure would love that too.
Come
so
on.
either one. Yeah, could jump on in. And thank you everybody for.
We have to make some light and stuff, right? Get all the dark.
That's right. Thank you everybody for downloading, listening to this show. We sure appreciate your participation, and thanks, double, triple thanks for our patrons. Patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. We hope you'll consider supporting the show. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright. I'm gonna go tell a man I love him.
Awesome. Me too.
All right.